Hi, WhiskyJason here. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, and today I have That Boutique-y Rye Company, distilled at New York Distilling Company, aged 2 years, bottle number 192 of 570, batch number 1, 500 CL, 53% ABV. So, June 2017, this was released in England. That Boutique-y Whiskey, Bourbon, or also Rye Company all belong to Masters of Malt. They just buy barrels and they make their own little nice little bottling. So this is a 2-year-old rye, non-chilled filtered, and it comes from New York Distilling Company, the same people that make ragtime rye. So if you take a look at the bottle, I'm just going to put it up there. You have this nice little guy there filling up a cask that looks like an apple. There's a double meaning for this apple. First of all, you think, oh, Big Apple, New York City. Yes, it's located in New York City. But second of all, they actually used Applejack casks for this. So Applejack is an apple brandy. And the interesting as well as confusing thing about this is Applejack does not use fresh barrels. They use bourbon barrels, cognac barrels, and wine barrels to mature their Applejack in there. So let's just assume they use the bourbon barrels, which I have no evidence whatsoever so far online. So the bourbon barrels were used instead of sending them over to Scotland or Ireland for the Scotch and for the Irish whiskey. They used them instead to make Applejack. And then those used Applejack barrels were given then or bought by the New York Distilling Company for this 2-year-old rye spirit. Now over here in Europe, you cannot call a whiskey unless it's at least 3 years old. So that's why it's called a rye spirit. Now in America, you can call it whiskey if you want to. You can call it American whiskey and so on. But this has to be 3 years old to be called whiskey over here in Europe. So 72% rye mash bill. What the rest is, I don't know. Let's just guess that it's going to be about 10% malted barley, and the other 18% would then be corn. This is locally sourced. Local in New York City means a 5-hour drive to get to the farm in upstate New York, where the rye and everything else is actually planted, harvested, and then also later on milled at the site at the New York Distilling Company, one of the prestige craft distillers in the country, and they brought us ragtime rye, which I also fairly enjoyed because it was it was a rye that was just in the barrel for like I think 6 months, and I was amazed about the mixture between the moonshine taste and the rye taste. It was a very, very, very good thing. This is basically the same juice, 2 years old, and used, stored in Applejack casks. So the first thing I have on the nose is apple cider. I'm not talking about the apple cider I had as a child in Pennsylvania where I grew up. That was a sweet, dark, non-alcoholic apple cider. I'm talking about the apple cidre that I had in France that has about 4.8% alcohol. That's a little bit more of a bitter, not a sweet. We used to get these gallons of apple cider. And this is Applejack. So, apple brandy. And this has the alcoholic type of apple type of bitterness in there. So don't forget, not first filled bourbon fast, but let's assume they're second filled bourbon. They could be cognac for all I know, but also that would be second filled cognac. The rye is very, very decent, very, very much in the background. It's not a very strong rye, even though it's 72%. And it's a lot of sweetness, amazingly. I'm just going to read the bottle real quick. That Boutique-y Rye Company was founded to bring forgotten drams from some of the world's best distilleries to the world's craving masses. Or to the whiskey craving masses, I'm sorry. Our limited edition labels are hand illustrated. Really, every single bottle has their own little label. Very, very nicely done. And designed with a nod towards the whimsicality of often incorporating whiskey industry in jokes. So there's a lot of insider jokes here about that, especially with the Applejack barrel as well as the Big Apple. All right, let's just try this. "53%. It's still manageable. I like to put water in anything above 50%. I opened the bottle here for my my German video I did before this. It doesn't really need water. Amazingly, for 53%. I think the same thing was with the St. George, that Boutique-y Rye as well, that it really didn't need to be watered down. It's sweet. There's not much rye. I love rye. So one of my favorite ryes ever would be here, the Smooth Ambler. Old Scout Rye, 7-year-old straight. I have like 3 bottles of this bunkered away because it's very difficult now to get this in Germany, and I think almost impossible in the States. I love my Lot 40 Canadian pot still whiskey. Oh, this stuff is so good and very affordable as well. And also, which is a standard, which is cheap, and one of the best values for money out there for rye is Rittenhouse straight rye. Bottled and bond, 4-year-old, 50% ABV. Very, very good stuff. Even this is not bad for your money, to be honest. Jim Beam Rye, just 40%. And if you want to get your, just like wet your toes in a little bit of rye, and you don't want to pay that much money, this is a good way to start. So you get a feeling for what rye actually is and can be. So I think I've done at least 35 different ryes so far, and I like rye a lot. Doesn't do that much in your mouth. Towards the end, there's a little bit of kick there. The apple jack, the apple cider, the apple brandy is there, and it confuses my mouth a little bit because I don't like my rye mixed in with apple. Sorry, guys. New York Distillery Company, not my stuff today. That Boutique-y Rye Company, sorry, not really my stuff. I would rather have a ragtime rye that was very good. It's surprisingly good, even though it was also about 40 euros over here for a normal bottle. This was about 47 euros for this half of a 50 CL bottle. But that's always the case with that Boutique-y. They're a little bit overpriced, but they're exclusive. You have your 570 bottles, and that's it. They take 1 or 2 casks, they mix them together, and they just use it, and that's it. Whatever's left over, and then we have to batch 2. And so there's one of a type of thing, single cask, basically, or double cask, and so it's a very limited edition thing. I'm going to give it a C+. For a rye, I might even go to a B-. Let's go for a B- for the rye. It's not bad. It's decent. I've had much worse, and if you imagine it's only 2 years old, even that you have to remember. For that, it's fairly good. But as I said, that little bit of Applejack that kind of is in the background and always says, "Hello, I'm here," just kind of doesn't do it for me. All right, Whiskey Jason here. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American. Thank you for watching. I'm uploading my videos now Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And maybe one day I'm going to start doing some live streams in English as well. Let's see. I started doing them in German. I've had moderate success doing that. It's very interesting. There are much more people in the world that speak English that like whiskey than speak German and like whiskey. That's part of the world globalization, I guess. All right, thank you very much. If you have any comments, any ideas, any suggestions, put them in the box. Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, testing rare and exotic whiskeys which are hard to find anyplace else. My job is to review it if no one else has done it. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.